So this month we are focusing back on the holding environment. And Lee gave such a beautiful talk on Monday, really recognizing the uncertainty, the vulnerability many of us feel in our world and our lives right now. And the liminal space that we're in across many aspects of our lives, big and small. And she really invited us to be with that and even embrace that liminal space as a place to learn and grow. And certainly recognizing the need for the holding environment to do that. And I wanted to share a quote that really helps me with that, speaks to what the holding environment and really our whole practice in many ways is. It's from a teacher named Master Hua, who was a teacher from China who taught the meditation teacher Kitty Saro, who many of you maybe know. And Master Hua said, as space is to form and silence is to sound, so is awareness to all phenomena. As space is to form and silence is to sound, so is awareness to all phenomena. So as space is to form, we maybe can connect to that even right now. The forms of these bodies and the space around and within it. We can think of the space of the sky that holds the form of clouds and rain and wind and storms. You might even for a moment look around the room or space where you're in and just see if you notice first the forms or the space that all the forms exist in. Space really allows forms to arise and pass within it. How often do we recognize that space rather than just the forms? And as silence is to sound. So again, right, even now as I talk, there's silence around and between every word. And if you've used sound as your meditation object or anchor, you know that kind of felt sense of being with sounds as they come and go, as they come out of the silence and return back to it. And that the silence around it is not quite totally empty, right? It sort of has a texture to it or an aliveness. And how often do we recognize that silence rather than just the sounds? So as space is to form and silence is to sound, so is awareness to all phenomena. Again, just like right now, what can your awareness touch and receive and hold? It can be actually with everything that arises and passes. The holding environment, this idea of an abode, an inner monastery that really can hold all of life. We're remembering that we have that inner capacity, right? And I don't know about you all, but I would say 99.9% of my life has been spent focusing on the forms and the sounds and the phenomena, and not so much time feeling for the spaciousness and the silence and the awareness that holds that. We can be aware of thoughts, feelings, an open heart, a closed heart, pain showing up in the body, a loss, injustice. And again, right, how often do we lean into the awareness that holds all of those rather than the objects of our awareness? This quote, I feel, brings to mind also what's true at the level of physics and biology, which I'm definitely not an expert on, but apparently the human body is more than 99% space. And that this is because more than 99% of atoms' volume is empty space. If all the empty space inside of our atoms were removed, we would fit into a dust particle. And the entire human species could fit into a sugar cube that would still be the weight of the entire human species. But just think about how much space is in our bodies, is in every tree, every flower, every drop of water and wave. And can we apply that same concept as we're invited to in this quote to the phenomena of our thoughts, right? So much space and silence around and between thoughts. So much space and silence around and within every feeling and impulse and movement and action. And so there's this invitation maybe to be less enchanted, less caught by form, and instead to settle more into the holding environment. I think about how space is not bothered by the forms that move through, right? The sky doesn't prefer this cloud and reject that cloud. Silence isn't troubled by the sounds moving through, doesn't have a preference. And so too, mindful awareness is not shaken by phenomena, can really be with that without disturbance. We can, as Kuan Yin is said to do, listen with ease to the sounds of the world. Right? Listening, holding, spacious, silent. And this quote really reminds me that the space is already here. The silence is already here. The awareness, the potential for awareness is here. As I am not as hooked and caught by forms, by phenomena, I really have the opportunity to see the nature of it, right? That the nature of it to arise and pass, impermanence. And so in this, we offer ourselves to see that clearly, to balance the whole of life with our awareness and understanding of it. And in moments, and probably you each have experienced this, we can almost become the sky, become the space, become the silence or awareness itself. So thank you for your time and attention. Let's transition to practice. And of course, maybe noticing how the words, the forms may echo, even though they're gone, they've dissolved, they've passed. And maybe we can bring the attention more to the body, just seeing if there are movements or stretches that might allow us to kind of settle back. To land again in this moment. Maybe opening up the arms out to the sides or overhead. Maybe feeling for the sense of connection or rootedness of the sit bones or pelvis, connecting to the floor or your chair. Perhaps feel for the length of the spine, all the way up to the neck, crown of the head lifting. Maybe notice that the breath is already moving. Can it be given all the space that it needs to move? Can the breath maybe be allowed to smooth out rough edges of the mind and body? And as you begin to settle into a little bit more stillness, of course, noticing that movements are always arising, can be welcomed. You might allow your attention to rest with whatever your anchor is, breath or sounds, or perhaps sensations. Take your time. Allow the holding environment, the inner abode, inner monastery, to really gradually be felt. And the invitation, certainly today as we go, is as you notice the mind naturally being brought to the form, the sounds, the phenomena, right, of breath, of thoughts, sensations. In moments, also just noticing and receiving the space and silence around that. The space at the end of each in breath and out breath. The silence between thoughts, the ending of each thought. And without any pressure, just knowing that the mind again is going to be drawn to forms and what's happening within the holding environment. And if you notice that the attention gets sticky, is caught in a repeating mental pattern or feeling, reaction, sensation, not rejecting or pushing that away, but maybe seeing if you can feel into the larger space within which that's existing, widening the lens so we can allow and hold and be aware of what's moving through. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your practice. I'm feeling gratitude also for Kitty Sorrow and long lineage of teachers that continue to teach us and impact us, even when they're gone.